Oh.
Well, he's a bit late with that one.
Welcome back.
Not impressed.
No.
You can tell he's hungover.
Why are we a little bit slow this morning? No, actually, I don't feel hungover. I feel tired. Tired's the word.
Yeah.
104. Are we even going to keep saying the numbers? I think it's going to come to a point now that it's like a little bit
Maybe not.
obsolete.
Yeah, maybe
I've noticed
not
it in the Mere Mortals Monday movement.
You stop saying it?
Yeah, I've stopped saying it now.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
to the point that when I'm doing them as well, it's almost out of my mind of what number it was. It's easy to remember when it's 10, 15, 17. But when it's 42 or 43 or 52, it's like, okay, it's getting up there. Sure, let's just get into the topic at hand.
I said a girl messaged me on Instagram because I reviewed her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll check yours out. You got any like recommendations of what
Number?
And I was just like, oh, if you like the book reviews, if you like books, go see one of the book reviews. If you like something silly, go see Aliens. And I was just trying to guess what number Aliens was.
Ooh, yeah.
What do you reckon?
I'd have to recommend, what number Aliens is.
Yeah. What do you think it is?
I'd say it was 89.
Yeah, I think it's like 73, 74 maybe.
Jeez, doesn't that go quick?
Yeah, and then... Yeah, it was just like, oh, well, I'm so far off with these, I have no idea.
I think with less numbers, it'd be more for me just saying, it's just, we talked about this. It's cool.
Yeah, here's a funny one. I don't know if you know this, but there was a point where Apple was saying, if you put numbers in your titles, we're going to ban your podcast from our store. Like, it won't be on there. Yeah. They backtracked really quickly because I think everyone was like, that's
pretty much how people do it.
It has a use, like there's a use for it.
Yeah.
So people actually know, like, listen to them in these order. And
I don't think anyone would have. I don't even know what the benefit of not having that.
Yeah, I think it was something like they just felt it was too spammy in the titles and whatnot.
Okay.
But anywho, let's get to some mere mortal moments.
Some mere mortal moments.
I'll go first. Listening to talking shit is like consuming sugar. Feels great in the moment, but the long-term effects will rot your health.
Ooh, okay, I like that.
I think listening to talking shit is fun. I think it's. I certainly enjoy partaking it in as well in being the creation of it, but I would say if that's like your main consumption of media or friends or talking with people, I think
long term is going to be a bad.
I think there's some deleterious effects to that.
I like that. That's cool. My one is the best thing you can do in the morning once you wake up is not go back to sleep. What's the best thing you can do? Don't get back to sleep. So, I was looking for some sleeping things because I want to talk about sleeping today. Mm-hmm. And one this quote that said, one of the best things you can do in the morning is to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So I was a little play on words there. But why does that quote, for me, why is that a bit of a mere mortal moment for why I'm talking about it? Okay, so this morning, I woke up and the most I wanted to do at that point was go back to sleep.
Yeah,
that was 100%. I just thought to myself, there is not enough hours of sleep right now. I need to go back to sleep right now. And I want to ask you this question. We, as mere mortals, went out for a fun time out last night with our friends. Back in the day, let's say 20 years old, how would you have attacked the next day knowing that you slept so little? What would you have had tactics or things that you would have done to kind of get you next day? So I'll give you. So I've thought about it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'll give you mine. I think my initial thoughts is, I turned 18. I started going out to places. You'd be out late at night, and I could just imagine myself going, okay, the next morning if I'm tired, if I've only slept 4 hours, 5 hours, it's some sort of caffeine hit, a coffee or something else, and just get it in and just smash it out and keep going. But I noticed that maybe around midday or in the afternoon, I'd just go, crash. Like, that was it. That's as much as the body's going, I need to sleep, and I wouldn't be able to get to the next nighttime cycle almost, and then it stuffed me up even further. Yeah. And that's if I wasn't horribly hungover. If it wasn't, and other pains were coming along that way. Yeah. And then that transitioned a little bit into, okay, not so much the caffeine, but I'll try and train, or I'll try and do some sort of movement or a shower or something a little bit different than just the caffeine to try and get me moving. And that was improvement. But I got to the point today where, and that's why it ties back to my mere mortal moment, where I thought, oh, okay, I'm feeling a little bit tired this morning on 4 hours and 45 minutes of sleep that I checked on my little sleep app. And in total, and I thought, okay, how can I get onto my day today purely just through action. So one of the things that I found is it's that temporary lull in your mindset to you're almost victimizing yourself and I didn't have enough sleep. Like I could have had this, and now I'm gonna feel tired. And you start thinking about all these other stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just filling my mind straight away as soon as I woke up into just action. I woke up and I got up even earlier than I should have. I could have just sort of sat there and been annoyed a little bit. I thought, no, just get up, just go and have some breakfast, just go and do things, get packing, get moving things. Yep, let's just do, have a shower, etc., etc. And it kind of, that almost made me more awake than some of the other previous techniques, I think, or tactics that I've taken. So, not to say that go and sleep only 4 hours every day and then just do that, because I don't recommend that at all.
No.
But on the instances that it has to happen, I think now my tactic is just taking almost not extreme action, overt action into just waking up and getting into it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I empathize. I definitely feel what you were mentioning about like willing yourself into a shit mood almost because you have a valid reason for it and you're feeling a little bit queasy and whatnot and bloated or whatever the symptoms are, tired. Yeah, I can definitely. I think we've all been there with that one, and yeah, I don't know if for me like super action would be the correct thing for that. As in, if I was like, yeah, I'll just go to the gym now.
Yeah,
I don't think that'd be great for me because I'd just get annoyed with how poor my workout would be. And, I know I can't will myself into good workouts. They sort of come and go. So I think probably the best way of going about that would be setting myself like a mindless task that just needs doing. So video creation, the editing of videos would be pretty good with that. That just takes time and you don't need to be thinking really hard. I think maybe scheduling a bunch of those for a day after and not important ones as well, so it's not like there's
something
no pressure.
You can just get in there and go, yeah, it's fine, just go through the process.
My old tactic just to be used to write off my Saturdays. They would just be pretty much the whole Saturday's gone. There's nothing really.
What would you do? Would you sleep in like for much longer?
Probably. I'd probably sleep I'd probably still get like 8 hours of sleep, so if I went to bed at 2 a.m. I'm getting up at 10 or 11 or something like that.
And still being like a bit groggy. You might have like a late breakfast, lunch, and then just do nothing in the afternoon. Yeah. I think back to some of those weekends and we've had plenty of them, where you'd go out on a Friday, maybe a Saturday, and you'd be either feeling unwell or you'd be tired, and it would just take out your whole weekend.
Yeah.
All the way till a Sunday afternoon when you're starting to getting a little bit back, and then you go back into the normal working week.
Yeah.
Another time I thought, it's fine, it's fun. And even if I look back on it now, I don't have regrets of all those weekends that was missed. No. Like it was fun at the time. But if I had to do it again, I think I would really be conscious on how much time I'm wasting in some of those weekends where I was just doing nothing. And even if I was, like, I wouldn't change up the going out, but I would put in place some things the following day so that, okay, if I'm completely like wrecked and I'm not going anywhere, I'm really tired, okay, I'm going to make sure that I sleep or stretch or do something else that's productive.
Yeah.
Then it's not a complete and utter wreck to it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the people who go out, and it's not a hit on them, but people who go out every weekend?
Yeah, well, we were discussing this last night, weren't we, with the coronavirus? So we went out and it wasn't as... it was just difficult to talk with other people or mingle in a sense because everyone was seated down in particular areas. And, yeah, I suppose the cultivating vibe that some of these places have, which is to, have some drinks, chat with people, chat with this other person. So it's not the same, which I don't particularly care about, to be honest. I'm sort of okay with that, but being that person who goes out every week, I think would be, I wouldn't probably enjoy that much.
Well, it just made me more thinking around the feeling of the weekend going to not waste, but just to misuse, and how much would that be? 20%, 15% of your pretty much the entire year that would just almost be filled with misused time because you just don't feel well or you don't want to do it or you just you're sick or whatever it may be. So if I thought about that now, like, wow, imagine having to take away 15% of your time. Like what you're saying the other day, what if you had to take away 2 hours from your day or something similar to that? Like, yeah, there's a lot that you would lose in that point already. That's pretty valuable.
Yeah, yeah. Alrighty, here's what do I want to start with these? Let's start with something that my dad has been saying recently. Dodgy stock market people and dodgy stock market companies.
Dodgy stock market.
What what is your view of the stock market and the amount of maybe like corruption that is in it?
Extreme.
Yeah.
Extreme. Regulated, but still extreme.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of existing regulations that do stop that. So I'll give you a super good example. Just the other day, a company that, so full awareness, I did invest into this company. So this company put out an article through the ASX to say, hey, it's an esports module essentially, and they said, oh yeah, we've teamed up with this over in Nasdaq, blah 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 blah. Boom, skyrocketed. It went really high up. Hello, bird. It went really high up. It went really well, up to a point where it got stopped completely by the ASX. It had to go into trading halt because they hadn't really defined what they published in the document with the values and what they'd put forward.
Yeah.
And that happens to, I'd say, some companies, but not other companies. Other companies that they put similar sort of articles or posts about, oh, we've done this connections, but no real foundation of, okay, well, what's the actual value? What's anything else? And they just get led through. So I think at the smaller companies where they might not be as scrutinized, I think, yeah, there's some rampant stuff going on. And then the fact that there's a term called pump and dump across whether it's, shares or any other sort of investment trading vehicle, it's a true thing. So, if you have a company that has 1 million shares and you have the power to move around half of those shares, 400,000 shares, then you will directly affect the whole market on itself, or at least that share price, just by your influence of what you do. So, it's very easy for you to emulate movements in, say, a share price from $1 to $1.50 because of what you're doing, which then, you can influence other people to say, oh, well, look, this is moving, so you should do that and move the price even higher, and then sell off, and then it just comes back down. So I think it's not as rampant as, say, Bitcoin or other things, but I could imagine there'd be some real shady stuff going on.
Yeah.
I don't know how well you've talked about it with, say, Australian markets in comparison to the Chinese markets and in comparison to the American markets. So another thing for people, so the Australian markets actually, there is dodginess, I would imagine. I'll ask you a question to how of extent do you think there's some dodgy companies and people around it, but like Australia is a saint compared to other places in the world, and I've talked to a lot of people in China, and they've explained to me how some of the market there works, and it is half influenced by the government. Like, the government can push a share price of what they want when they need to.
Yeah.
And so they've got a lot more manipulation that it can be, and it's almost to the point where you make money because you also are giving favors to other people directly, and it's what you do. That's just the way of life. So sure, there's still the regulations, but maybe some aspects of it would be looser than the Australian one. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, my dad is very critical of it. He only trusts probably the top 20 companies.
Okay.
In the sense of they're almost too big and there's too much media scrutiny on them that if they do overtly dodgy stuff, and I'm talking about like a select group of individuals at this stage, so whether that be the board, the managers, or the major stockholders. So not just talking about them in general. There's some specifics there. He'd say it's like the top 20 is okay, but anything other than that, it's almost too reckless for him. And I think that's just because he's had a couple of experiences with the smaller companies. I won't name them, but one in particular, which he should have known, because this guy who founded the company used to be an second car
dealer.
Yeah,
That's cool.
What is that? Second-hand car dealer or whatever.
Well, look, and to put context, from what you're saying there, it is very not super simple, but it is doable for a company to, let's say, we decide to create a company to selling, light posts, and we get some venture funding from somewhere. So there's a couple of $1 million flowing through it. We could talk with banks and get an IPO going. So essentially, you can get into the share market and you can have a ticker and people can use it. And you could totally use it as a pump and dump scheme in the way that you get the venture fund and say, hey, pull all this money, we'll make it look like we're making all these sales. You can buy our thing, there's a profit and net thing going. We'll go on the share market. Everyone will be like, oh, okay, well, wow, they're making all this money and it's going well. And okay, maybe if it's aligned with the right sector, it's going good. And all of a sudden you'd be like, oh, okay, cool, it triples or quadruples in value. Then us as directors just completely sell out of everything. And then the company could go bankrupt at that point, and we wouldn't lose a dime because it's now as a company structure and not. So, yeah, that can lend itself to being with dodgy things. Like dodgy people can go and do dodgy things. If there's an option to be dodgy, I reckon there'll be people there to fill that gap of dodginess. Yeah. But what about you? What do you feel about it?
My personal thoughts. I'd say a little bit less cynical, a little bit less jaded, and that could just be because I haven't had as much experiences as him with, sort of dodginess. Like I've had one where it was, I had 100 shares of a company and then just wake up one day and I find, oh no wait, I've only got 99 shares of it now. And I was thinking like, what the hell's going on here? And they used some sort of manipulation they forcibly took a share from everyone or the equivalent of how much it would of a percent of their portfolio from that thing to pay for admin costs or something. And I called up the actual ASX and was asking about it, and they're like, look, this is definitely a little bit dodgy. You can pursue it if you want. It ended up only being like $20 for me, so it was easier for me to just get rid of the whole thing. Although to be honest, it was a gold company, and so I sold it pretty much just before the coronavirus, and that was when gold actually, and that was my whole reason for owning gold. For events like that. So that sort of annoyed me because I was like, look, I had the right strategy, and then I did the right thing by getting rid of a dodgy company, and it still didn't work. Like, lesson learned, be dodgy. No. So personally, I tend to. I think it's just for state of mind. I can't go around thinking everyone's trying to screw me over. I find that a real unhealthy state of mind. Yeah. So, but that being said, he has convinced me to be a lot more wary of investing in the smaller ones, and that's why I probably don't really go for as risky as maybe you would. In certain investments.
And I think you're right in saying if I was to call it dodgy, I think it would change my mindset of some of the purchases I do. So rather than that and just talking about it as, it's more risky investments. So risky could be because it's dodgier or because there's much more fluctuations. And if you'll sort of sign yourself up to that, then you can be like, okay, well, that's fine. I can understand if I lose some, you lose some. If you win some, you win some. So, for people who might not be in the share market, when you're talking about being in the top 20 companies or being in really established ones, the pros on it is that you're going to be around, even on a really, really big volume day, the share market's moving 2%, 3%, 4%. Maybe, something big happens, 6%, 7%.
Yeah.
When you go to the smaller, riskier, maybe dodgier companies, you can see things swinging rapidly, 40, 70, 90% changes on one day. So, but you equally have to then understand, okay, well, how much are you willing to invest in those levels where you could totally lose it easily. Like, you'd lose all of it. Like, I've experienced that with a couple of those risky ones. And not to say that they were dodgy, but just, there were things like options or other things where the money just went, boop, like, that's it, it's gone. Where other times it's gone well.
Yeah.
If I was to, having a balanced portfolio is always going to be a good thing. But there's always going to be, if there's going to be the availability to be dodgy, there's going to be dodgy people out there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's definitely. Another one, back on the sleep topic, because I wanted to share this thing. So I want to pull up my phone here, and I want to not show you, but just talk through my sleeping patterns over the last couple of days. Because something surprised me. I was having a look at, we're talking about deep sleep a little while ago.
Yeah.
And so Thursday, I slept 7 hours and 23 minutes.
It's good.
And I got 57 minutes of sleep. Of deep sleep, sorry. Right? The next day, Friday, 6 hours and 39 minutes of sleep. 49 minutes of deep sleep. Okay? Yesterday, 4 hours and 45 minutes of sleep. 51 minutes of deep sleep. Mm-hmm. All around at the beginning point. And then there's some REM sleep and everything else.
Now, this is being measured from your watch, right?
Yeah. So, let's go 20% variation, maybe more. 30% variation in the correctness. But at least, if it's off, it's maybe off in the same way.
Consistent.
Off. So, and I've got to research more into this, but it really surprised me that sleeping like, you know what I was talking about a couple of maybe weeks now, months ago, where, maybe I'll try sleeping 4 or 5 hours to see what happens to my deep sleep. Yeah, the deep sleep looked to be exactly the same as what I was doing beforehand. Now, I woke up this morning feeling, I'm not going to say recovered, but it didn't feel horrible. I actually felt kind of okay. Like right now, I'm feeling, I'm much more awake. And again, didn't have a coffee, had a bit of cereal, and just got into action. I feel, really awake right now. We're on the drive here, we're talking about, maybe I want to have a nap or something. And I'm like, oh man, nah, I'm cool. I'm good now. I'm ready to rock and roll.
No nap gang over here.
No nap gang.
No nap.
Yeah. Look, I've got to say, if you have to nap, it's got to be a really extreme. You've got to be in a really extreme point, I reckon.
I think if you need to nap, you might as well just change your name to Frank or Gertrude, because you are already 98 years old.
Or Beatrice. I want to just stop for a moment. I don't know if you guys can hear the rowing going on in the background here. Maybe, no, you won't be able to capture it on one of the cameras.
No.
But it just got me thinking. There's a couple of people rowing here, sculling or whatever it may be. Will you ever do rowing again?
I doubt I'd do it like these guys are, which is just, takes a lot of time and effort, getting the boat ready, getting the whatnot. Just in the gym for fun. Yeah, hell yeah. I would. I probably would.
Did you enjoy it? I despise it, man.
Oh, really?
I really dislike rowing.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know what it was about it. Maybe the stationary. Like, I don't like doing treadmill running. I hate treadmill running.
I agree with that.
And that's why I feel a little bit like it in the rowing, because it's sort of stationary, and I feel, I don't know, I prefer to be in sort of moving than anything else.
Okay. So. But would you go to the big effort of going out and rowing like these guys on the river?
Not all the time. Sometimes. Like I do.
Have you ever?
No.
Okay.
Never this sort of rowing. I've done canoeing quite a couple of times.
Yeah.
So, you remember when I used to own a canoe?
No,
sorry, not a canoe. A kayak. So I used to own a kayak, and we went out a couple of times, and we had the car with the roof racks and everything, but still, I only went 3 or 4 times with this kayak.
Yeah.
That was fun. It was fun, and it is different. See, for me, when I'm engaged in an activity like that, where it's either outdoors or it feels a little bit more, I guess, real life, I do go away from the thoughts of, I'm doing this for the exercise, as opposed to, this is just fun and it's kind of cool. I still reckon, no matter the training I'll ever do in running, when I go for a dedicated run and go run a K or go run 5Ks, if I was to do the equivalent amount of running in a game, so it would be soccer or playing AFL or playing Tiggy or anything, I reckon I could do the equivalent amount of that distance, maybe even faster, with being less tired, at least feeling like it, just because I'm distracted by playing a game or doing something else. So that's kind of how I feel. If I was doing a kilometer of rowing, I think it would feel, at least mentally to me, might be physically the same, but mentally it'd feel nicer to be doing it out and about.
Yeah.
Outside.
Yeah, it depends on the sport.
And a treadmill running in a 1K treadmill run and 1K outdoor run. I feel the 1K outdoor run is just easier.
Yeah.
Easier. But that has other variables to it.
Yeah, I think that's the boredom factor, because it is actually easier on the treadmill. It's like 10% easier or whatnot. But boredom-wise, I was saying this the other day. I was like, you get so bored on the treadmill, man. You just like seeing the same thing all the same time. All my runs, pretty much, have just been me running around a soccer field. I'm just looking at the same thing the whole time.
It's exactly the same thing, anyway. Yeah.
At least I can do those barefoot, which feels. You've done much running barefoot?
No, not as of late, anyways. No.
Yeah. Okay. I've been enjoying it.
You've been getting yourself into the barefoot community, or at least knowing it. Tell me about this. Why the barefoot community?
Oh, not really, but it does make sense to me. I remember my friends, almost all my friends growing up, they were 11, 12 years old, and they needed orthopedics.
At 11 or 12?
Yeah. So many of the guys that played soccer had slip-ins to put in their football boots.
Wow, okay.
A lot of them had just normal, like orthopedic special shoes for, just like day-to-day use going to school and stuff.
Yep.
And looking back now, that makes me really go, man, these are kids. Why do they need
orthopedics?
Yeah, what's like going wrong with their feet? And this, it was just multiple friends, multiple people. So it wasn't like, one guy had a deformed foot or whatnot.
Yep.
It was just a bunch of them. So, I think that's something to be said for like foot health and doing it in sort of like a natural manner, like not forcing your feet into cramped shoes, not elevating your like the back of your heels too much with the raised men's shoes and women's, so the heels are even worse. Well, ballet, you all know how disgusting their feet sort of turn out. But yeah, I don't know. I want to speak to this dude. I don't know if he'll get back to me or not, but who runs like a little company. Do you think his perspective is more of that physical correction, or is it more the spiritual connection with the earth style? No, it's not that. No, okay. So he's all about the like walking on sort of poles and beams and getting your feet used to uncertain terrain. It's not the spiritual. He runs a company. You can't selling footwear. You can't particularly go down that route.
Oh, does he sell footwear?
I think that's it's like called the Foot Collective. So
gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Well, it makes me think of all the different things that through millennia humans have grown through, mere mortals have grown through to use. So one thing I've recently just been thinking about. So yeah, we're going through all this period where we're doing all our human things and we're going fine, and then there's the improvement in the industrial age and et cetera, and so now we wear cramped in shoes or we eat less chewy food and all these sort of things, and how much of an effect it can be having now. Well, one example you gave that one of the other ones I had in my mind was, again, yesterday I was listening to a podcast about breathing, but they were talking about how something not just your way that you breathe can have effects on your face, but also talking about how now as humans we just don't chew tough enough things with our mouth, that in itself causes a lot of problems when you're a kid. So imagine all the, not so much, I wouldn't go so far to say baby food, but a lot of the food we eat in general is much softer and mushier. So imagine like a hamburger from McDonald's. It's not hard, tough that you're biting into and chewing. It's
that's true.
Almost just, and you just swallow it through. And they have made a big point to say, a lot of the issues they see in, say, with people's teeth, it's almost purely determined for the amount of chewing that you do. So people who wouldn't chew as much are going to have deformed structures. And I think they had an example where someone went on a soup diet for 2 years or something like that, and after 2 years, their mouth was all just like really destroyed because their teeth hadn't really been used properly, so their mandible was starting to change and their face structure was starting to change. So imagine what other things that come naturally to us, or used to come naturally to us, that we are now putting a stop to. Things like vitamin D deficiencies because we don't get out as much.
Yeah, I was just going to say, here at Mere Mortals we're pretty hard, so we add ground glass to our meals just for good roughage.
Have you heard of that guy who actually eats glass?
No.
It was one of those things that you'd see on the Guinness World Records book or whatever it may be. And I've seen a couple of videos of him, and he can eat like...
Is it like shards of glass? Or
yeah. So we'll get a pane of glass and he'll kind of like cut it through and eat it. Yeah, you look at it and you're like, oh, man.
That's one I always cringe at, the breaking of stuff with teeth and with your mouth.
Like, when Mansell used to do the...
do it with the bottles.
Man. That was like, I wouldn't want to chip my teeth like that or anything.
Yeah, I don't know why that one really makes me cringe. I think, what is it about like a broken tooth compared to a broken...
bone
or bicep or whatever? It's just...
I mean, I wouldn't want either. I wouldn't want those either.
I suppose probably cringe. But if I see people breaking their arms, that's pretty bad as well. But teeth. Look out for your teeth, people.
Yeah, no teeth. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
I'm pretty good. I was just going to say we should maybe get some bread and put it on the table or something. Get those birds. We had a couple of pigeons walking around just before. A gang of pigeons. Pigeon gang here.
What if we put like a fruit bowl and then people walking by? People walking by. It's going to be like, oh, okay. We should all on the days that it's not too windy, we can put like a little water station there. And so people walking by can like pick up a couple of cups and just fill themselves up and walk along. That actually wouldn't be too bad. I think people might enjoy that. The generosity of the Mere Mortals.
Maybe. All right. So if people want to connect with us, if they want to see the Mere Mortals in all their glory, where should they go?
Well, look, I'm going to have to call out the fact that we got 2 4K cameras now. 2 4K cameras, which means you can see us in all our glory down to our paws on YouTube. Right? Mere Mortals Podcast. Search it up. Find it. Look at it. watch multiple hours, subscribe, then tell 3 of your friends to subscribe to. That's what you got to do. 8 of your friends. If you've got 8 friends.
If you only have 5 friends, make 3 friends.
Make 3 friends and give them to them. Exactly. Yes. That's right. Aside from that, you can find little highlights and a lot of content on Instagram. Mere_mortals_media. And we've also got a website. If you go to Instagram, or you can find it, just Google Mere Mortals Media or Mere Mortals Podcast. You'll find the website. It's got a couple of handy links to where you can find us.
Yep.
And again, we're down here at Kangaroo Point in Brisbane. Normally in the morning on Saturdays. If you want to see us down here, come down between 8 to 10. We're around here at some point. So if you see us and we're in the throes of discussions, maybe don't drop in right then. But if you come in a little bit beforehand or afterwards and you want to have a chat or even join the podcast and have a bit of a discussion, do it. Or drop us a DM as well. And we'll go from there.
Done.
So good. That has been a little bit of meanderings outdoors in this cloudy but brilliant day. 1 out.
Current out.